What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the newest episode of the Believe in Oregon podcast. I'm Zachary, Neel. He is Jonathan Stewart. Jay Stu, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. What's it like being back in the States? You've been in Germany for a little bit under a week now. What was that like? How was your trip?
It was good, man. Never been to Europe.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I was able to go to Dakar, which is it was a concentration camp there in Germany.
Hmm.
Um, and I was able to do that with David Tepper and his wife and Steve Smith and a couple other um members of the Carolina Panthers organization. And so that was a very eye opening and very inspirational and very heartfelt opportunity. It was cool to be able to do that amongst being able to enjoy myself with some old teammates of mine, Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly, John Beeson, Julius Peppers, Steve Smith. We were all there basically as ambassadors in Germany for the Carolina Panthers and the NFL. So it was fun. Ate a lot of good food, sauerkraut, sausages. Had a lot of Aperol spritz. Yeah, man, it was a good time.
Sounds like a good trip. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and the
Well,
Panthers
glad.
won. And the Panthers won.
Yeah, the Panthers won. There you go. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
Yeah.
That's good. We've got a great show lined up for you guys. We're going to get into some of our takeaways from the Maryland game, get some takes out of the oven and take and bake. Then I've got a fun game for us to play called Big Deal or No Deal. After that, we will dive into the Wisconsin preview. Sound good?
Yeah.
Before that, I need to come clean about something though and get off a retraction from Saturday's post-game show. I presented some uninformed information about Dylan Gabriel when talking about his touchdown record after he broke Case Keenum's all-time mark with his 179th touchdown. My point, which I didn't really feel great about at the time that I was saying it, but I was just being honest. I was saying that his touchdown record wasn't as impressive as Keenum's because when Keenum set the record, he did it in 4 years at Houston, while Gabriel used 6 years across different schools. First of all, that was just wrong. Keenum played for 5 years at Houston,
I was
and
gonna
he
say, I
set the
thought it was
record. He set the record in 57 career games. Gabriel set the record in his 60th game on Saturday. So again, just categorically wrong and
yeah, man.
poor preparation on my part. Yeah,
You
it
sounded
was.
like a straight hater, and that's
I
not
did.
you. That's
Yeah,
not you.
yeah. So I want to apologize to Dylan Gabriel for all of the for like kind of detracting from his special moment. That's poor professionalism on my part, and I'm sorry to listeners for giving false information. I'm better than that, and it will not happen again. So that's just I wanted to get that off my chest before we go any further in this podcast.
Yeah. Well, good job. That was a good for you, man. Everybody should really take up, what he just did there.
You gotta
That's
own it, man.
called
You make a mistake,
That's
you own
called
it.
the humility. You gotta drop your pride, whatever it is. Get the right information out and get your point across the right way.
Yep. It's all about the truth. We gotta, like you said, gotta drop the pride sometimes. With that
Hmm.
being said, let's talk Maryland. I'm assuming you did not get to watch this game because it was happening in the middle of the night where you were. But what were your takeaways after kind of catching up a little bit?
Yeah, 6 hours ahead. Didn't Was not attempting to watch the game because I was in bed.
Yeah.
We were busy on the go almost every hour of the day that we were awake in Germany. So I was in bed while the Oregon Ducks were hopefully putting a smacking to Maryland like I had hoped. Right. So woke up, saw the score. It's like, all right, they
They
allowed
won.
some things to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, um, but I think there's a couple things that we have to address that we will address, but it was a game that we were supposed to win. Was it a perfect game? Absolutely not, right? Um, but one of the things that I can say about teams that are elite, they find ways to win no matter
Mhm.
what. And especially games that they're supposed to win, they usually find a way to put a gap in between the inferior and the elite. I think Oregon is still the most elite team that there is in college football right now.
Mhm.
No, there's not even a close second, in my opinion. Um, and so, it was a good game, good turnout, home game, and they did their thing.
Yeah, this is gonna bleed right into my take and bake, so we'll kind of just segue into this. But there's something that needs to be said about winning your clunkers. I left Saturday pretty unimpressed, to be honest. I don't think I'm alone either. That was not a clean game. It wasn't particularly dominant or entertaining, and they left a lot of room for improvement. That being said, they won by 21 points and were never even close to being pushed in this. In a week where number 3 Georgia lost and number 4 Miami lost and number 9 BYU was pushed to the brink by an unranked Utah team, there's a lot to be said for that.
Miami lost to Georgia Tech.
Lost to Georgia Tech, yeah, and
Come
they were
on,
getting
dog.
blown out for a while in that game. So,
Yeah.
I want to focus particularly on that Miami loss, like we're saying, that loss for Mario Cristobal, because it feels like more than a coincidence that that took place on the same week where Oregon had this clunker, and the difference was the coaching staff, in my opinion. Dan
Mhm.
Lanning is 23-0 in his Oregon career against unranked teams. Mario Cristobal lost to six unranked teams during his career at Oregon. He's now lost to 8 unranked teams at Miami. I don't mean to turn this into a quote unquote dunking on Cristobal segment, but at some point, Oregon fans should sit back and, kind of appreciate the turn that this program has taken under the new coaching staff. Saturday was an absolute clunker. 12 penalties, kicks out of bounds, injuries, getting backups into the game, no energy or juice in Autzen whatsoever. It was a classic recipe for an upset and one that, we kind of saw many times under the Cristobal era. Like they probably would have lost this game if Cristobal was coaching. I really believe that. Instead, the Ducks won by 3 touchdowns, and I think Oregon fans should be pretty happy about that.
I mean, one of the things that we have to talk about is the ability to put up points, right?
Mhm,
Finding the end zone, right? Finding ways to score, field position, obvious, all those things, that you expect out of a good football team playing defense soundly, right? Field possession, where you are on the field, all those things come into play for you to score points, especially if you are in a little bit of a struggle, right?
mhm,
Just do the things necessary, throughout the course of a game to where you're not, there's not a drastic, moment that just like kills your momentum,
mhm,
right? And even when you do, but what we have seen is when those things do happen, we can find ourselves in a holding pattern,
mhm.
right? And I feel like that's what we do. And I think for fans, we kind of get nervous about that.
Because we've
During
seen it come back to bite us in years
yeah,
before when they get
yeah.
stagnant.
When we get in that holding pattern and we're like, oh wait, let's just go back to the airport. No, let's just go back to we can still go
Just
to our
keep
destination.
going, keep going. The win
Keep
is there.
going. We wanna go that way. The momentum still is that way. Let's go with the jet stream, not against the jet stream. Um, no, but you're right, man. Like I think the comparison that we should all be, taking into consideration, especially with games like this we could be Miami. We could have easily said, "Hey, Maryland, we're better than you, and you're going to beat us today because
Mm,
we don't want to play football."
yeah, not focused. Yeah, just not prepared. So
Yeah,
I don't know. That was I after the game on Saturday. I was like, I need to process this game more before I kind of really get my opinion off. And over the last couple days, that's what I thought. It's like it was not ugly or it was not pretty. It was pretty ugly. But
yeah,
sometimes that's fine. A win is a win. And if you're going to play a C minus game and still win by 21 points, I think that definitely says something.
yeah. And I think it's like I'm looking at the recap here, right? Um, 12 play drive out the gate, right?
Mhm,
That's something that we have not been accustomed to and seeing. And again, I think it's important for us to feel some type of adversity throughout the whole entire year, right? Yeah, it keeps you in it. It keeps your mind fresh. Like, oh, don't get too comfortable, right?
well, that's what
Them
we said
boys
at the
from
start of
the
the year. I mean, that's why we
mm-hmm,
kind of appreciated that Idaho game and that Boise State game. We're like, all right, this
mm-hmm.
team knows right away that they're not, you know,
Yeah.
unbeatable.
This is this was a 10-0 checkup.
Hmm.
Let's call it that. A
Yeah.
10-0 checkup, right?
Yep.
You come out, give up 12 play drive, which means you're giving up minutes on the clock. Then you go out there and you have a 3 play situation where you don't do nothing. Good
Yeah,
Lord.
3-0 real
Uh,
quick.
and then make another stop, 3 play, you come back to reality. Hey, wait, we are better than this team.
Mhm,
And then you go 14 plays, 92 yards, and you score a touchdown. Then your defense comes out and says, all right, let's be opportunistic here for a fumble return touchdown. Okay. So now defense is now back in it. It's all about momentum. It's all about finding ways to continue that confidence, about yourself. Things aren't going to go perfectly in a game, but you do have to make sure that you're aligned right, your assignments, and you're out there playing violent football,
mhm.
especially on defense, right? And so, really like the fact that I see fumble return touchdown. That means that we can be opportunistic.
Well, and then they had, yeah, 2 turnovers late in the game too, a couple of interceptions. It was a
Yeah.
very solid day for the defense. I know they they let up a little bit more yardage and points than they would initially want to, but, like we said, for the offense and the defense, it wasn't a perfect game, but they did show flashes of really good things. All right, I've got a fun game for us today. It's not deal or no deal. It's big deal or no deal. The idea is kind of in the name. I'm going to present a stat, an outcome, an idea to you, and you're going to tell me if you think it's a big deal or not a big deal. Sound good?
Okay.
All right, let's start with this one. Oregon had 12 penalties for 95 yards versus Maryland, the worst of the season on both accounts. Big deal or no deal?
Big deal if you don't learn from it,
Okay.
because we also started the season off having a lot of penalty issues,
Yeah.
right? So again, we can look at this game since we won it and say, hey, this is just a 10-0 checkup, meaning we won 10 games, we're undefeated, and we have ourselves a checkup. Let's go back into the classrooms and self-evaluate, and let's be real with ourselves with what we see in the mirror.
Mhm.
So that's my thought process.
For some context, in the first 2 games of the year, Oregon had 17 penalties for 134 yards. Over the next 7 games, they averaged just 4 penalties for 30 yards per game. So this
Hmm.
was a thing early in the season, and then they really got it figured out and fixed. That's why kind of Saturday was an aberration. It just kind of shocking to see them that undisciplined and see it be that bad. I kind of agree. I think that if they don't address it, obviously it's a big deal. You can't be giving the other team 95 yards in a game just based on mistakes. But
Hmm.
I tend to think it's no deal because I think they're going to address it. We've seen
Yeah.
it not be an issue for so long to, I don't think it's just all of a sudden going to be a problem for the rest of the year. All right. On a positive note, the Ducks are ranked number 1 in the college football playoff rankings. They will likely be number 1 again later tonight when the rankings come out. Big deal or no deal?
As a fan, big deal, baby. Let's go. Shoot, I
Okay.
ain't
As
gonna
a
keep it.
player,
I'm gonna keep it a buck.
yeah.
But as a player, it's no deal. No big deal,
Mhm,
because as a player, you have to stay locked in, no matter
mhm,
what these rankings are saying. You still have to line up and play football next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. Hopefully, you're at the national football championship, and you're saying we can prove that we're number one here. So that's the mindset that you got to have. All these rankings, again, I'm going to always say it. It's for the fans. It's not
It
for
is.
anyone else but the
Yeah.
fans.
100% for the fans. And, if they keep taking care of business, they will continue to be number 1 going into
Making
the
us
start of
and
December.
making us fans happy.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
going to listen. I'm going to the grocery store and people coming up to me saying, "Oh man, your ducks!"
Ducks,
Like,
number
yeah,
1.
number one, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, big deal or no deal. Oregon continued to struggle with bad snaps from Poncho this weekend, several hindering the offense on Saturday. It's kind of been a little bit of an issue all year, but the offensive line has kind of made up for it. Do you think that is a big deal or no deal?
I think it's a big deal, because what's the most important thing on the football field?
Getting that football to the quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Protecting the ball. So if we're not, we don't have to be like, you know, negative Nancy over here. We don't have to be, overcompensating. Just continue to do the things you've been doing, but just him individually, the quarterback exchange, the most important piece on both sides of the ball.
Mhm.
So, um, you got to make sure that you take care of that. Whatever it is that you have to work out, whether it's hey, let's skip class so we can work on on our exchange right quick.
Just do you can't be
Um,
out here advocating for these guys to
Look,
skip
I'm going
class
to
now.
advocate for anything, man, because this is a chance of a lifetime. You teachers need to understand. These young boys are bringing in that paper for the school.
That's
Okay.
true. That's very true. All right, we'll keep it negative for one more. Evan Stewart muffed a punt on Saturday, and the Ducks are, let's say, less than explosive in the punt return game without Tez Johnson on the field. Big deal or no deal?
I think it's a big deal because Tez
Okay.
Johnson being out, that shouldn't mean that you have that much of a drop off in your return game.
Yeah.
I think Tez, when he was in there, I think he's an incredible player, incredible receiver. I think even for him, he leaves a lot on the table on the returns as well. I think you as a return man, I mean, you look at Devin Hester. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. If I'm a return guy and I'm thinking to myself, man, I might have a future being able to return kicks and taking these things to the house, I'm watching him every single day that I'm about to go to practice, every single day that I have a football game, because, you know, he does it with ease. He's been doing it for so long. But when you miss out on having someone in the depth at the returning position, right? To secure the ball is the number one objective. Again, the things that we're talking about here, quarterback exchange with the center. We're talking muffed punts, basically saying, hey, the defense did their job and the offense is now giving you the ball through a punt. All you need to do is secure that joint, right? If we can't do that and we have that much of a drop off, that concerns me.
Mhm.
I feel like there are enough athletes on that roster that can get the job done. So the attention to detail during practice, I remember Jimmy Radcliffe, he had everybody that would have a thought or a sniff of catching any type of returns. He had us back there after every practice for like 30 minutes at least, catching balls, like like these crazy ball drills where we sometimes have two balls in one in both hand, or ball in one hand and ball in the other, and have to catch the ball that's being kicked to us, and just really worked on our concentration, our footwork. Where are our feet when we're catching the ball? Are we in running position, or are we standing there like a duck? No pun
Mhm.
intended. But like if you're standing there like a duck waiting for it, that means your chest is exposed. All kind of things are exposed to where you make it harder on yourself.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, man. I just think just a little bit more attention to detail and practice for these young guys. This is an opportunity. When guys get injured, you don't wish that your opportunity comes when a guy gets injured, but it's the nature of the
Part of the
game.
game, yeah.
So you get an opportunity that you don't normally get, you gotta maximize it. You
Mhm.
gotta make sure you catch those punts.
Yeah.
Take one to the house. Make
Mhm.
something happen, right?
Yeah.
And or say, "Hey, I don't want to play football today." Okay?
I don't
Say
think the
something.
latter thing is gonna happen. Speaking of Tez Johnson, some positive injury news for him. Not really injury news per se, but he was seen without a sling on his arm at the
Mhm,
ahead of the game. So he is, making that recovery and coming along.
mhm.
Let's end this on a positive note. Dylan Gabriel is now the all-time NCAA record holder for touchdowns, breaking Case Keenum's record, like we talked about a little bit earlier. Big deal or no deal?
That's a big deal, man. You etched yourself in college football history. Like no matter what, you are a future football, college football Hall of Famer. And, one day you'll look back at, your time in Oregon and you'll be able to share that with your loved ones, your kids. Um, your kids will be able to share it with their kids. This is something that's legendary. This is a huge legacy moment, not just for him, but for University of Oregon. Because to have, that duck, that O next to his name
Hmm.
when it's etched in the history books, that's huge. That's a success on both ends.
I know you didn't get to watch the game. Did you see who happened to catch that touchdown pass?
Can I guess?
Please, I will give you 10 guesses. I would give you 100 guesses and you would never get it.
Was it Trayshawn Holden?
No, it was backup offensive tackle Janoris Wilson.
Oh wow, that's
They went with a
that's
little trick
amazing.
play and spread
Yeah,
out Janoris Wilson. I believe a sophomore, a redshirt sophomore, maybe a redshirt freshman. I forget what he is, but
wow.
yeah, that was fun.
Of the 3 touchdowns that he had to throw, one of those was to an offensive lineman for the record.
Well, then they went for 2 and had Josh Connerly run it in, take the direct snap and run it in, play that next play later. It's like, all right, this is
Man, they was
they're
playing
having fun
games
right
at that
now.
point.
Yeah, they were playing with their food. All right, let's turn our heads towards Wisconsin and get into the gambling corner. Again, all of our odds brought to you by our sponsor, Bet Online. The Ducks are 14-point favorites in this game, minus 650 on the money line with an over-under of 52.5. What is your initial read on this game?
Again, Wisconsin is inferior,
Yeah.
and we should smack the Badger out of them.
Yeah, I can see it.
But their quarterback ain't got a chance when it comes to our defense.
Yeah.
Seems like he's throwing a lot of interceptions. Doesn't really
8
know how to find the
touchdowns,
end
8
zone.
interceptions. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's just a guy. He's a jag, and
He's a
it's not my
jag.
fault. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, this feels exactly like 2 weeks ago against Michigan, like copy and paste.
Yeah.
Game that had a ton of hype at the beginning of the year, played on the road in a tough environment, one of the most historic places in college football, Camp Randall. For fans going to the game, it will probably be an awesome experience. I don't think it's really going to be an awesome game. Wisconsin is great on defense. They got one of the best pass defenses in the nation, ranked number
Yeah, that
6.
secondary is nice, right?
They're real good against the pass. Their run defense can definitely be had. I think where the real disparity in this game is, though, is on the offensive side of the ball. Without Tyler Van Dyke, their starting quarterback who went down with a knee injury earlier in the year, they can't really do much. Braden Locke has been fine, I guess. Like you said, kind of just a guy. Their running back, Tawi Walker, is pretty good. He's been productive, but they've got virtually no passing game.
So they're
As
one-dimensional.
very one-dimensional. Yeah, I'm really not worried about this game in the slightest. I think the Ducks should be able to cover those 14 points with ease. I don't know about the 52.5 over/under. That seems kind of like a lot because Wisconsin's not going to do a ton, and I don't think that Oregon is going to try and run up the score in this one. But I would definitely take the Ducks to cover, and I would try and do it soon if you're going to wager on this game because I could see that line going up above 14.
Yeah, I think they'll cover 14, and I also think they'll be over 52 points.
You think so? You think they could run up the score a little bit?
I think they can. I think coming off of a game like they just had,
Yeah.
it's a little. I think it like again to me, you come out of that game winning, but you also come out of that game like, come on, guys.
I kind of thought the same thing going into Maryland too, and Maryland doesn't have a great defense, so I thought, oh, Oregon's going to try and put it on them. They've got some huge recruits in the stadium. They're going to want to make a show of this, and they didn't really. So I kind of think that just might not be who this team is. They know that the finish line is 3 weeks from now, and they're waiting for that, and they're kind of just biding their time and a little bit on cruise control. So I can see them, and I think they're going to be running the ball a lot in this game too. So I don't know that there's going to be a ton of points on the board.
Yeah,
That's just my thinking.
I would say, Jordan James only had 7 carries last game for whatever reason.
They held him out in the second
And
half. I think he's dinged up a little bit.
yeah, he's dinged up. Well, if he's dinged up, then no, Whittington, you got to put that work helmet on
Yeah.
and get to work.
Well, and
But if he's not, now we got, some a game plan there, which is secondary doesn't ever want to tackle.
yeah, that's true.
So just remember that, guys. You have done some special things this year. Just continue to show up and do special things. Not hard.
Yeah. This leads a little bit into my duck call, at least. Our duck calls where we break down what we want to see out of this team in week 12 and make some predictions for Saturday. I want to see a Jaden Lamar touchdown. I think the Ducks go heavy on the ground this week because they are, you kind of go against the strength of the other team. the other team's really good in pass defense this week. I think they run the ball a lot. Like we said, Jordan James a little bit banged up. I think they might kind of hold him out a little bit more. So we probably see a little bit more Jaden Lamar. I would like to see him get into the end zone.
I like that.
All right, you got anything?
I would like to see the defense just make this like an embarrassment.
Yeah, another shutout.
I just want a legit shutout. Maybe that you can give up some points in the fourth quarter, whatever.
Uh-huh.
But that first 3 quarters of football, I
Yeah.
want to see like, man, we out here just eating chips, laughing at
Getting offensive
Wisconsin.
linemen touchdowns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just hanging out on the sideline, just drawing up stuff in the sand.
You have any bold predictions for this game?
Bold prediction that I have for this game. I don't really have a bold prediction for this game, but I do have one for well, who is it? Is it okay if I go off the script here for another
Let me
game?
do mine real quick. My bold prediction for this
Okay.
game: 2 penalties for less than 2 yards or 20 yards, which after last game
Okay.
seems pretty bold. Go off the
That is
script,
good.
please. Let's hear your bold prediction.
My bold prediction is that Georgia loses to Tennessee
Okay,
this weekend.
I can see that. I don't think they're even favored in that game anymore. So
Well, it's not bold.
I don't know if it's bold, but I allow it because that's an interesting topic that we can get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I could definitely see that bold prediction coming
I'm
true.
really looking forward to this whole playoff movement. I'm getting
Mhm.
ready. I'm seeing all the things really shift and starting to happen. And Tennessee is going to be who we end up playing.
I've got a question for you that I've seen a lot of people. I've got a clear answer on this, but I've seen a lot of people debate this. Which would you rather have, the number 1 seed and a bye, or the number 5 seed and that first round game at home with a potential better route to the championship, a potentially easier route?
I want the easiest route as a fan.
So just regardless, you want to see whatever the easiest route is. You don't care about bye, first round, or first round home game.
I mean, we are number 1 in the nation. So
Mhm.
we getting that bye.
I mean, it
So
depends on if we win the Big Ten championship game or not.
yeah, we'll win the Big Ten championship.
Okay.
I want us to go undefeated. I want
Yeah.
everyone to know that we were the first one to go undefeated throughout a whole entire season and be the champions,
In this
national
new era.
championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about a final score prediction?
Final score 42 to 13.
Man, we're close to each other each and every week. I got 35-13, but I think
Okay.
it's gonna be a lower scoring game than you do.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up there. We'll be back to you guys this weekend to recap the big game. Jay Stu, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
Nope. Go Ducks. And we're number 1 in the nation. And everyone else is not. And that feels good.
Yeah,
Really
facts
good.
right there.
It's a fact right there. Everybody else wants to be us, but they can't.
That's true. Your favorite team's
Yeah.
favorite team.
It's your favorite team's favorite team. And watch out for your mascots.
Watch out. Yeah, we'll see what that duck can do against those Badgers. All right, you can check out more of my work at duckswire.usatoday.com. Follow me at Zachary C. Neel on Twitter. Follow Jay Stu on Twitter at Jonathan Stewart1, and make sure to check out the Believe in Panthers podcast and the Stu and Crew podcast. For myself, Zach Neel, for my co-host Jonathan Stewart, we'll talk to you guys next week. Until then, take it easy.